Have you ever wondered why the more you try to hold her, the further away she seems to drift? At first, control feels like care. It feels like protection. You tell yourself that your watchfulness keeps her safe, that your rules ensure stability, that the boundaries you set preserve the relationship. But the truth you may not want to face, is that control does not nurture love. It suffocates it. The very light that drew you to her begins to dim under the weight of your grasp. The feminine spirit is not meant to live in a cage. It is vast, unpredictable, alive with a rhythm that answers to something deeper than logic. It is like the wind. It moves where it chooses, carrying the scent of freedom in every breath. The Stoics understood this in ways that modern love often forgets. Epictetus taught that you can command your will, but never the will of another. To attempt it is to wage war against nature itself. And nature, sooner or later, always wins. Imagine a river. You fear its current will carry her away, so you build walls to hold it in place. For a moment, you succeed. The water is still, contained, predictable, but what you've really done is kill its flow. Over time, the water stagnates. It loses its clarity, its vitality, its life. This is what happens when you try to contain her spirit. She may remain in body, but in soul, she is already gone. Control is rarely born of strength. More often, it is the shadow of fear, the fear of being abandoned, the fear of losing her to someone else, the fear that without constant influence, you are not enough to keep her. These fears whisper lies. That love can be secured through rules. That commitment is best maintained through limits. That closeness can be ensured by restricting her choices. But in truth, these lies only create the distance you are trying to avoid. When you stop controlling her, you give her something far more valuable than permission. You give her space to breathe. And breathing is everything. A woman who breathes freely in a relationship will speak more openly, love more deeply, and show you parts of herself that control could never reach. The Stoics would call this aligning with the natural order, recognizing that your domain ends where hers begins, and that anything beyond your own will is not yours to govern. The moment you release your grip, a shift begins. At first, it may unsettle you. She may act in ways you didn't expect, speak truths that challenge you, or move with a confidence that doesn't ask for your approval. The insecure man will see this as a loss of control, and rush to restore the old order. But the man grounded in self-mastery will recognize it for what it is, the return of her vitality. You see, control might keep her near, but it will never keep her present. Only freedom can do that. And freedom is risky. It means accepting that she may choose a path that is not you. But the Stoic understands that what is truly yours cannot be taken. And what is not yours was never yours to hold. This is where shadow work begins. You must turn inward and confront the insecurities that feed the need for dominance. You must ask why her independence feels threatening, why her growth makes you uneasy, why her choices need your validation. In facing these questions, you begin to see that the desire to control her was never about her at all. It was about your own fear of inadequacy. When you stop controlling her, you are forced to meet yourself. And when you meet yourself honestly, you discover that love, like virtue, can only thrive when it is chosen freely. Seneca wrote that, "He is most powerful who has himself in his own power." The same is true in love. The more you master yourself, the less you need to master her. And when she feels that her infinity is not a threat to you, she will open in ways you cannot script or predict. She will no longer shrink to fit your comfort zone, she will rise to her full height. And if you can stand steady beside her in that height, she will see you not as the one who tried to contain her, but as the one who gave her the sky. When the grip is gone, the first change is almost imperceptible, a softening in the way she exhales. It's not the guarded breath of someone calculating every word, but the natural rhythm of a spirit that is no longer braced for control. Her body speaks before her voice does, the subtle lift in her shoulders, the way her gaze holds yours without that flicker of self-censorship, the way she moves without rehearsing the space she's allowed to occupy. You might be tempted to interpret this shift as rebellion, but it isn't rebellion, it's restoration. The Stoics taught that every being has its nature, and to live well is to live in accordance with it. Her nature is movement, expansion, self-expression. When you stop suppressing that, you're not losing her. You're allowing her to return to the order of things. The untrained mind will panic. It will mistake her independence for absence, her self-possession for disconnection. That panic will whisper to you, if she is too free. She will forget you. If she has too much space, she will fill it with someone else. But those whispers come from the shadow self, the part of you that has not yet faced its own wounds. This is where the work begins. Shadow work is the excavation of those hidden fears. The fear of being unseen, of being replaced, of being irrelevant. When you try to control her, you are really trying to control the conditions in which those fears might be triggered. But the Stoics would remind you, external control is an illusion. The only realm in which you hold real sovereignty is your own mind. And so, you practice sovereignty. You let her go where she wishes, say what she believes, wear what she feels most alive in. Not because you're indifferent, but because you understand that her authenticity is worth more than your comfort. This discipline is not passive, it is the active restraint of the impulse to dominate. Marcus Aurelius called it strength to endure without complaint, the ability to remain steady in the face of your own discomfort. What you will notice, if you endure that discomfort, is a gradual deepening of her presence. She will speak to you with a candor she once withheld, not because she was dishonest, but because she didn't feel safe to be fully herself. She will share her dreams without first measuring whether they align perfectly with yours. And when she touches you, it will be without calculation, without the silent bargaining that comes when affection is a currency for approval. The paradox is that the more space you give her, the more she will want to bring herself into your space. Freedom breeds desire in a way control never can. You become, in her mind, not the man who polices her boundaries, but the man whose presence expands them. This is a rare and magnetic position to hold, one that draws her by choice, not by force. But the pull works both ways. As she expands, you are faced with your own choice, to grow in parallel or to cling to the past. The man who grows will find that her infinity does not diminish him, it challenges him to discover his own. The man who clings will find himself trying to reassert the old dynamics, unaware that in doing so, he is pushing her further from him. You will feel moments of unease. There will be days when she is deeply engaged in her own pursuits, when her focus is on something beyond your shared world. In those moments, you must remember, her distance is not a verdict on your worth. It is the natural ebb and flow of two independent lives. The Stoics would tell you that nothing in nature is constant, not the tides, not the seasons, not the hearts of people. What matters is not holding them still, but meeting them where they return. When she does return, and she will, if the bond is true, it will not be out of habit or dependency. It will be because she wants to. And when she does, she will bring you more than she ever could when she was confined, a fuller mind, a freer spirit, a deeper love. This is the quiet reward of releasing control. You receive her not as the version she has been forced to be, but as the woman she was always meant to become. As her freedom expands, so does the texture of her presence. It's not just that she speaks more openly, it's that there's a new weight in her words, a clarity in her gaze, a steadiness in the way she inhabits herself. She is no longer performing closeness to keep the peace, she is offering herself in truth, without the thin veil of compliance. This transformation is both beautiful and confronting. For a man who has built his sense of security on control, her self-possession can feel like distance. It can stir the quiet, ancient fears that have always lurked beneath the surface. If she no longer needs me, will she still want me? If she can stand alone, will she still choose to stand with me? But the Stoic mind knows that need and choice are not the same currency. What is chosen freely has a value that need can never match. It is here that the discipline of self-mastery becomes more than a philosophical ideal, it becomes a lived necessity. You must resist the pull of the old reflexes, the urge to draw her back in with subtle rules, the instinct to create dependency so that her loyalty feels guaranteed. The Stoics remind us that anything obtained through fear or force is not truly yours. It is only on loan until the moment the grip weakens. The absence of control does not mean the absence of influence. In fact, when you no longer force her steps, your presence gains a different kind of gravity. She begins to move toward you not because she is tethered, but because your steadiness becomes a place she wants to return to. It is the difference between being an anchor and being a cage. One holds without confining, the other traps without holding. And she will test this difference, not with conscious games, but simply by living in the fullness of her autonomy. She will spend her time in ways that do not center you. Explore parts of herself that have nothing to do with your preferences. And make choices that challenge your comfort. Each of these moments is an invitation to either fall back into control or to rise into trust. The man who chooses trust discovers a rare kind of connection. He learns that love does not require constant proximity to remain alive. He understands that space is not emptiness, but the oxygen that keeps the fire from suffocating. In this space, both partners grow, and growth is what keeps desire from withering into routine. From her side, the change is equally profound. The absence of control removes the quiet, constant tension she once carried. She no longer has to anticipate your reactions before making a decision. She no longer measures her words against the risk of conflict. In that safety, her energy blooms. She becomes sharper in mind, richer in spirit, and more radiant in her presence. This radiance is not just for her, it feeds the relationship itself. She brings back to you the vitality she gathers in her freedom. The conversations are more alive because they are drawn from her unfiltered experiences. The intimacy is deeper because it is not a performance. Even her silences feel different, not the guarded quiet of someone hiding, but the peaceful stillness of someone who feels no need to justify their existence. And here is the paradox that control can never touch. When she is free, she is more present, not out of duty, not out of fear, but out of a genuine desire to share her life with you. The love you receive in this space is leaner, purer, stripped of the distortions that fear and ownership create. But you must also accept the reality that freedom means uncertainty. The Stoics understood this deeply. The world offers no guarantees, only opportunities to act in accordance with virtue. By releasing control, you step into the same uncertainty she does. You choose to believe that what is real will endure without being held in place. And in time, you will see that this belief was not misplaced. For the woman who knows she can walk away at any time, and yet chooses to stay, is the woman who brings her entire self to the table. That is the moment you understand, her infinity was never yours to contain, but always yours to witness. There comes a moment when the shift is undeniable, the connection feels lighter, yet somehow deeper. The old undercurrent of tension, the silent calculations, the constant vigilance that once defined your bond have dissolved. In their place is something steadier, cleaner, untouched by the need to prove or possess. This is the ground where real intimacy grows, because it is not fertilized by fear. She moves differently now, not in rebellion, not in defiance, but in harmony with herself. The space between you has transformed from a battleground into an open field. In that field, she can run, rest, or return, and she returns not because she must, but because she wants to. This is the truth the Stoics spoke of when they said that what is truly yours cannot be taken, and what is not was never yours to keep. Yet, it is here, in this newfound balance, that the greatest temptation appears. You may feel the urge to reassert control, not because she has done anything wrong, but because the absence of control means the absence of guarantees. The human mind craves certainty, and the ego whispers that you could secure it by tightening your grip again. But the Stoic discipline demands that you resist this impulse. To act from fear is to undo the very conditions that make this love possible. Instead, you hold your ground, you anchor yourself in your own life, your own pursuits, your own unshakable values. You refuse to measure your worth by her constant affirmation. You understand that her freedom is not a threat to your significance, it is the environment in which true significance can be proven. And she sees this. She sees a man who does not crumble in the face of her autonomy, who does not retreat into bitterness when her world expands beyond him. She sees steadiness, not control, presence, not possession. This is rare, and rarity draws her closer. Her respect for you grows alongside her attraction, because you have proven that your love is not conditional on her submission. In this space, even conflict changes. Disagreements no longer carry the unspoken fear that one wrong step will trigger a collapse. She knows she can speak her truth without risking her freedom, and you know you can hear her truth without it dismantling your self-worth. The Stoics would call this apatheia, not indifference, but the state of being unmoved by destructive passions, able to see clearly even in the heat of emotion. What emerges between you now is something elemental. It is not the romance of possession or the rush of dominance, it is the deep, quiet current of two lives choosing each other again and again without needing to. It is the recognition that you are not halves seeking completion, but wholes meeting in mutual respect. The woman in this space is not the same woman she was under control. She is sharper, more grounded, more luminous. She carries herself with the ease of someone who does not barter her freedom for love. And because she does not have to fight for her space, she can pour her energy into the bond instead of defending herself within it. And you are no longer the man who feared her infinity. You have seen that her freedom does not erase you, it amplifies you. You have learned that the more she grows, the more you must grow alongside her. You have come to understand that control was never the source of your strength, self-mastery was. It is here that the truth becomes clear. Love that depends on control is a prison. Love that thrives in freedom is a kingdom. In the first, you are a jailer, forever guarding the gates. In the second, you are a sovereign, walking beside another sovereign, each ruling your own realm, yet choosing to share the road. The woman who knows she is free will never forget the man who let her be infinite. And the man who understands that he cannot own her will forever be the one she chooses.